Hi, take a look at this. This is Otis, and he's trying out the new cat tree that I put together. And I didn't want to go with the carpeted ones that look like big behemoths of carpet in your house. You can see I have a live edge table, a lot of greenery outside in the background, and I wanted to be able to have something that blends in. So here I have some natural branches, some artificial leaves, some scratching area for the kitties, and they seem to love it. If you'd like to make something like this, in this video I'm going to give you step-by-step procedure how you can put something like this together, and you can either gather a lot of the things for free. We have had our two kitties for 2 weeks, and they were tearing up the furniture a little bit, so I thought I'd make them something where they could go over and they could scratch with their nails and climb up, and it was a hit. They've spent about half of their day going up and down. They love to sit up high and look outside at the butterflies and birds and just sun themselves. So I think this is a great addition for almost any home. I'm going to try to make something like this. It's a cat tree, and what I have to start with is this 24-inch diameter circle of wood, some lag screws to go up into the base of the trees, and some corner brackets to attach any shelving I'm going to put on. So I scavenged a local area where I found some dead wood. There had been a fire there, and you can see what I'm doing right now is in my garage. I have flat bases on the limbs, and I have them going up and up and up, and they're actually attached with clamps to my ceiling apparatus up there. And I've been taking and cutting cardboard and trying to make a stair-step pattern of shelving. First step, jump to the second step, jump to the third step, and jump to the top step. So here I go with a pretty fine blade for quick turns. And I'll go ahead and... Here I'm using a narrow blade, and it has 20 teeth per inch, which makes a very fine cut and doesn't leave any rough edges on the bottom. I'm coming around, and I'll cut the circle out first, and then you'll see in a moment I'm going to come back and I'll take out these branch openings right here and here. So now I have rough cut the shelves to fit, and I have the situation where, what do I do now? So I think what I'm going to do is mark where the shelves notch into the different branches, and then I'm going to take the shelves off, flip it over, and put the base on, and then flip it back and put the shelves on. Now the first step in attaching the branches is I know the branches need to be 15 inches apart. So I'm getting that 15-inch spread centered on my circle. And then I'll go ahead, and I know I have to put this lag screw in there, and it has a head on it. Obviously the head can't stick out and scratch your floor, so I'll be countersinking those into the wood so it's flush or less than flush, and there will be no scratching that takes place. Notice I've used a Forstner bit at the end of my drill, and this Forstner bit only has a tiny point on it, so it's not going to come popping out the other side. And I'll go ahead, and if I take my bolt and just line it up here, you can see if I go about halfway through the thick part of the Forstner bit into the wood. Now after I've drilled, you can see I can check. That's just perfect. So I'll use this impact driver with a 7/16" socket at the end, and this will just pull it right into the wood. I'm going to take a screw, smaller screw than my lag screw, and use it as a guide. I'm just going to come through this a little bit. And then I can place this where I know I'm going to hit wood, good wood on both sides. So I'm going to go like this. So that pulled it flush. Now I can put my big lag screw in here. And when I put it in here, then I can pull this screw out and put the other lag screw in. I'm going to take my lag screw. I'll push it a little bit this way so maybe you get a better view. So I'm going to take this one. I'm going to go in here. So that's the lag screw. Now I'll go ahead and put a second lag screw in. I've got the two lag screws in here. Remember, even with these long lag screws, they won't hold this up the way we want it to. What I'm counting on is balance. If I have it balanced so the weight is coming straight down, we don't have a lot of lateral pull, then this is going to do it. And then when I add the other one up above here and tie that in with all the shelving, I think we're going to have a strong structure. You can see I drove a screw right through here and it tied these two together, and that means these two now are tied together and it improves the structure, the stiffness of the structure. This is my first shelf locked in, and if you take a look, I put an angle bracket down here and that's nice and tight, and then I just drove a screw sideways here. This is going to be carpeted anyway. And that is, I had to make it level, so I put a level on there when I put the screws in. Here's a little trick I'm learning. You always learn things when you do a job like this. So I'm trying to make this pattern fit really good. So what I do is make a rough cut, and then I take another piece of cardboard around that rough cut, and I make it just right, and then I'll tape this in place and then move it to the wood and do a tracing. I'm going to do that around each of these pieces of wood. Here I already did it. So that gives you a real tight fit with each of those cuts around the tree trunk. Here's what I learned after day one. Make sure to mount your trees to the base before you start designing your shelves, because once you get it mounted, they will not fit. So I had to recut these. I don't know if you can see that angle iron bracket, but I took and I put 2-inch screws in there. So it's anchored really, really strong on this side and just a single screw on this side. And that just kind of tightens the whole thing up. I still have it clamped at the very top, but I think I could let it go. It's balancing very well. And remember, I'm planning to chop this off at about a 5-foot height, so I'm going to chop it right here. I've added another layer to the cat tree, and this one, a couple of interesting things I did. I set the bevel of the saw from 90 degrees way over like that, so I was able to cut around there and get in tighter, and it's touching real good. I put another angle brace over here, so it's nice and solid. Well, I added this second step, and I cut this section out so that I could slide this in, and I want to be able to carpet over that and have that stick out just to look good. So I put this scrap of wood back in here, and I have a little 1/8 inch piece of plywood underneath that's glued this way, and I put glued on the seam. So this is like one piece of wood. I have my fourth and last level of this cat tree, and when I got this one done, I put an angle bracket here and put a screw vertically going down into here, but this still was having somewhat of a diving board effect. So I took one of the branches that I didn't use, cut a 45 here and a 45 here, drove 2 screws into there and one down, and it's really solid now. Last thing I'm going to do is top this right here, and it's beginning to take shape. I'm really excited about the way it's starting to look. Well, I'm into the debarking stage, and luckily the wood that I got it has been drying a long time, and it's pretty easy to debark it. Notice here I added a second base circle for stability. It just gives it more weight at the bottom. Not only have I never done this before, but I've never even seen it done before. I think what I'm going to do is do a zigzag pattern of hot glue all the way around and see if I can get about 3 turns out of it. So here we go. Well, this is about 15 minutes worth of work, and I've gone through 2 glue sticks, so it's going to be an expensive job. I put a good blob on the top layer, and I give myself a lot of slack. Like I pull this thing, and boy, you better not drop that bundle of rope or you're going to have a mess. So I have a lot of slack like that. I put the glue on, and then I pull it really tight and down close to the next layer, and it seems to be on there like a rock, so I think it's going to be okay when I get done. But this looks like it's going to be about an hour's worth of work. I'm doing pretty good with this, but you can see my rope is getting all coiled weird, so I cut myself a piece of wood, and I'm just going to wrap it up on that so I don't have the hollow center and the bottom falling out. This is a lot more time consuming and difficult than I had thought. I hope this makes my job easier. Now this is a continuous roll of rope. Near the end I had to do figure eights like I used to do with a kite string to keep the ball from slipping apart, but I think this will make it go faster. Well, here's where I am right now. You can see I have a sisel rope wound around the bottom leg, and then as we go up to first, second, and then on the 3rd floor I have another sisel leg because it was in an opportune position to do this, and then finally we got the top. I still have a little bit of bark removal. Down here this tree came from a forest fire and it's kind of burned. I will probably remove some of it, but my wife likes a little of the bark remaining. And then my last touches is I need to put some soft carpeting on each of these levels and maybe a few fake leaf branches to just kind of make it look like a tree. Now we're putting the carpet on here, and this has proven to be rather difficult. The best way we've found is by taking pieces of paper and laying them down, and then taking those papers and rubbing the edge and getting a good crease line. And then when we've gotten that crease line, we cut on that crease line, and we end up forming a pattern. It doesn't look too cool. See, our pattern comes like, it's all piecemeal, but then we take this pattern and lay it on the back of this cheap carpeting, and we trace it out with a permanent marking pen, and then when you take it and lay it on here, you get a pretty nice fit. We still have to glue that down, but that's working out well, and that's the way you can actually do it. They seem to really love playing around on this thing and sleeping on it. They spend half their day up on this tree. They've only had it 3 or 4 days, but the novelty hasn't worn off. Thanks for watching.